everyone, I'm Ian Dille.
And I am Michael Sheehan.
And we are here with cyclocross pundit Jonny Sundt. Jonny, thanks for being with us.
Glad to be here.
Today we are going to preview the Women's World Championship cyclocross race in Bogense, Denmark. We see this really as a generational battle. We have such an incredibly deep crop of young, talented cyclocross riders who are nipping at the heels of the older generation, the ones that we've seen on the podium of the World Championships for many, many years. We want to know, is this the year that some of the veterans are going to get beaten out?
There are at least a dozen riders who can win this Women's World Championship cyclocross race. Jonny, who are your favorites? What do you see happening on Saturday?
Well, I agree. It's absolutely going to be a generational battle, but the torch is not going to be passed. It has to be taken. And we've seen Cant and Voss and Compton come to form lately. You've seen the experience as they trudge through this really long season, as they're sharpening up. And you've seen some of the younger riders fade a little bit or getting tired. And we're going to see eventually this new generation take over, but will it be this year?
I mean, is this the year it happens? You know, we saw Anna Marie Worst have one of the most incredible rides of the entire season, taking that European Championship title over Voss, but she has certainly faded, got sick the weekend of Cyclocross Essen and over icy, and hasn't seemed to regain that top form. I mean, is there a young rider in your view that can take this title away from Voss, away from Compton, away from Cant?
I think we're looking at the rider that of the younger generation that can probably step up and looking at their form is Betsema. And she had a really good ride on Sunday at the World Cup at Hoogerheide. She seems to be the one who's still holding some really good form right now.
I want to talk about in between this young and kind of veteran generation, we have one really interesting rider, Lucinda Brandt, who has just been really blowing me away all season. The Dutch champion. A year ago, we would not have been talking about her as a serious contender for the Rainbow Stripes. However, she has just really blossomed as a cyclocross racer this year. She, in my opinion, is probably the strongest rider in the field coming from a road background. But the way that she has just tackled the technical aspects of the sport this year has blown me away. You know, last year we saw her. You know, she had a successful cyclocross season last year, but it was kind of just navigating around tons of crashes in not a very, you know, picturesque way of handling a cyclocross course. But yeah, Lucinda Brandt, from the way she is handling the pits to the muddy off cambers, she is developing into a really, really formidable cyclocross racer this year. And I think that if Bogense ends up being a heavy course like we saw in some of the recent World Cups, she might be the surprise winner to take the rainbow jersey.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say she's a surprise winner. I mean, I think she is definitely one of the odds-on favorites, right up there with Voss. I think we can't forget that she won on a very fast course into Bourg, just hanging on to the back of the group and surprising everyone on the last lap. You know, last year she looked like a roadie dipping her foot into cyclocross, and this year she looks like, you know, not one of, but maybe the best cyclocross racer in the world. And what are your thoughts on Brandt, Jonny?
Oh, she's obviously super experienced. She brings a big motor from the road. She's, like you're saying, she's improved technically. She's riding with a lot of confidence. Winning at the top level begets winning. The confidence is a big deal. That's probably part of what we're talking about with the older generation versus the younger generation is the experience at this level. These are big races. There's big pressure.
Yeah, and for me, in terms of a rider that can break through, I am totally with you on Betsema. I have all my bets on Betsema, and I'm saying that she not only can win the World Championship, she will win the World Championships. I mean, this is a rider that was one of the top junior mountain bikers in the world before she had her first child at 18 years old. And you'll like this, Jonny. She has a background in motocross. You are a big advocate of riding motocross to improve your off-road skills, and it certainly shows. I mean, in the sand, in the mud, you know, she won the World Cup in Koksijde. That was her big breakout race. So, you know, we saw some inexperience with Betsema in previous races. I think she is going to have learned from those mistakes. She's not going to let Marion Vos get the jump on her again. She's not going to tow big groups around, until she fades. I think she is going to ride a perfect race and win this World Championship in Bogense.
That's a bold take.
That is a very, very bold statement, but you don't shy away from them, I'll give you that. Either way, I think that we are going to see a really incredible battle. We have seen so many women competitors this year taking wins, Kaylin Alvarado, Denise Betsema, Anne-Marie Wurst, of course. The question is, do they have the depth this time of year to really take the battle to the older veteran motors? Like, we've seen Katie Compton coming onto form. Sana Khan, she is a championship rider. She's going to be up there. It is going to be a really interesting battle to watch unfold.
Yeah, I think before we leave, the one thing worth mentioning is the early weather predictions do call for a very sloppy course, 90% chance of rain and even snow in Denmark. I mean, what does that mean? Does that bode well for the older, more experienced riders?
You've got to hand it to some of those guys when it's getting really tricky, because on a course when the conditions get really terrible, it's not about who doesn't make a mistake, it's who makes the least mistakes. And at that level, the experience. And I mean, I'm going to say my money's on Vos, just because of the experience she has. She's won a lot of championships, and she knows how to win them. And she shows up on the big day.
Well, we'll see if Vos takes her 8th world title on Saturday. Tune in live on FloBikes and on demand for viewers in Canada. Looking forward to the race.